have a plan. It's terrific. It's going to be so good your head will be spinning, but I can't tell you about it. I'm just joking. I'll get in trouble. Okay, so okay, I won't go too long, but there's a couple. So this piece of modern art is basically the map of ISIS. Iraq is this here. This is Syria, Jordan, Israel. The brown is where ISIS is, and the black is where they're very concentrated. In the urban areas, in the thoroughfares, in the oil-producing areas. Now, the reason, this is my opinion, granted, that Iraq went to Syria, this whole chunk of Iraq went to Syria, I would argue is because we did not leave a residual force, even though we were supposed to try, we didn't get a status of forces agreement, to have a residual force, not to do the fighting, but just to coordinate the Iraqis. To help the Iraqis with air, with logistics, with coordination. They left the battlefield when ISIS came in. Second, the Kurds, the Peshmerga, they're a good fighting force. They're asking for more aid, more lethal aid. We should give it to them, and we're not. So we're not giving the Kurds what they're asking for and could use to help push back ISIS. We are not helping the Iraqis as well as we could to push back ISIS. And then Syria, where this country got going. The president made a couple of colossal mistakes early on in Syria. Number one, we should have, and the question is, can we now? When the Syria crisis started, when Assad started killing his own people in massive numbers, mass genocide, it was originally more of an indigenous uprising of people wanting freedom and democracy who are Syrians, who were looking for help, who we should have helped at that time. Not with our soldiers, but with our means, with our weapons, with our support, with our training. The president's own advisors recommended that, and he rejected that. What happened was a vacuum got filled, and ISIS poured on in, and a lot of foreign fighters poured in. Now it's hard to separate the good from the bad. And when you draw a red line as a president, and you don't enforce it after it's been crossed, which is what he did, you really invite weakness. I spoke to the president of Korea and the Prime Minister of Japan soon after that, about a year and a half ago. This is Korea and Japan, and the number one question as we started getting in the conversation was, what's happening in Syria? Because the thing is, the world watches whether or not we honor our commitments, whether or not this was a case where gassing civilians with a red line, whether or not we enforce our word and back it up. And so the world is basically watching us retreat, and as a result, a vacuum gets filled. Putin is now bombing Assad's opponents to help Assad, I would argue not to help defeat ISIS. And ISIS has this stronghold. So how do you put the toothpaste back in the tube? How do you get the genie back in the bottle? I think you have to do more than these aerial pinpricks. I think you need to have coordinators. Afghanistan was a fight in the beginning where we didn't put a lot of troops on the ground, but we were able to have far better coordination by embedding some of our targeters. I don't want to get too deep into the operational details, only to say, I think we can do more with what we have without committing lots of troops to be more effective against ISIS, but we've chosen not to do that. I think we can do more to help the opponents of ISIS who are our allies, like the Kurds, but we're not doing that. And so I also think the last thing we should be doing right now is be making a proposal to Congress and the world to take our Army down to a level we haven't seen since pre-World War II, our Air Force down to a level we've never seen before, and our Navy down to a level we haven't seen since pre-World War I. By shrinking our military so much and proposing to shrink our military so much, it invites more chaos, it invites more friction, more conflict. But by having an exceptionally strong military, makes it more likely that we never have to use that military. And by not doing that, we are inviting others who want to destabilize. Whether it's China in the South and East China Seas, whether it's Putin in Ukraine or now in Syria, or groups like ISIS taking more and more risks, taking more and more hostages, I think we invite more problems that we're experiencing. So I think rebuilding the military is something that needs to be done no matter what the circumstances. So I look back and I think everybody should learn from mistakes of the past. Everybody should learn lessons as they experience history. And the lesson here is, if you create such a massive vacuum, it will be filled by people who do not share our values. And that will compromise our national security. I think Iran now has more power, more money, more clout, more legitimacy than ever before because of this agreement. And as a result, their terror proxies will be better funded and more liberated to do more destabilization in the region as well. How about over here? Oh, good, we got two microphone runners.